Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Oh, I am super excited to do what we're going to do here on the air on this podcast. I've never done it before. I've heard about it. We've talked about it, but it's never been done. I've never even seen it been done. I'm referring to accessing the Akashic records, which in my understanding is really everything in your life as told or remembered by the universe. And he's going to help us out with that. He's going to access my Akashic records. We're going to see what's in there, how it connects with my life. He is Eric Webster. He's a lifestyle engineer, hypnotherapist, does hypnosis, and he is a channel for Akashic records. And he's back with us. Eric, welcome. How you doing?
Hey, good to see you, Steve. Nice to have a face to go with the voice.
Yeah, last time we did it on phone. Now we're doing the Zoom thing. In the past, by the way, side note, I've done hypnotherapy, not just in these shows, but for myself. I've worked with practitioners, and we've given examples of how that works during a podcast. Just I guess he's somebody's mind that some mind control and all that kind of thing going on. So we've done that, but never opening or accessing the Akashic records. This is a first for me, and I've never seen it done anywhere.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. It is the composite history of your soul, all lifetimes, past, present, and future. But I like to put a little asterisk next to future, because even though what's projected is written in the record, it does not at all interfere with your free will. And I liken it to when you're driving down the road, you know that if you keep going exactly the direction you're headed, where you're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have the right and ability to turn the wheel, and then you end up someplace else.
So we're going to start with what I understand is a couple of prayers and things like that. When you get going, can I ask you questions along the way?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so everyone better understands this whole process. What are you getting? How is this working? You look at a psychic medium, which the legit ones, I 1,000,000,000% believe in. I've worked with them. I've helped launch their media careers. If I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't put my name on it. This, I'm not sure how you're doing what you're doing.
Well,
I don't know.
That's a really good question. The prayer, you've already given me your permission to go there, so I will read the prayer once out loud and then twice silently. And while I'm reading it, I'll get feelings. I'll maybe see videos. I don't actually hear the voice of spirit at this point. I'm confident that that's coming. But more than anything, I sort of step out of the way. Eric the human steps out of the way, and it becomes more like a channeled message where they are given the operation of my mouth and deliver whatever they believe is the most important thing. Sometimes in a reading, there will be a little mediumship. Somebody from your ancestral line may show up, a teacher, a dear friend, whatever. I actually don't ever know who or what's going to show up, which makes it kind of fun for me.
Wow.
And entertaining me is probably the most important part of the whole thing, right?
Well, I'm sure you've uncovered a lot of interesting things along the way. We're going to begin in a moment. Filtering. Do you filter anything that you get?
Absolutely do not.
Wow.
And I believe that it's not my job to filter. I will sometimes disclaimer. I will say, now, I'd like to remind you that this is the record keepers, because I don't talk this way. Or given that I'm an almost 71-year-old man, sometimes they go into some areas where Eric the human can be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's important stuff. But I don't filter, I don't spin it, I don't censor it. My agreement is I will not do health or disease or illness. I don't want to know. I don't want to be that guy that says, oh my God, your right lung is about to, whatever. Don't do that. I do.
Do you get that
energy.
info though? Do you
No.
get that info, or
Because
it's the boundaries that you set within the records?
Yes. And if
Okay.
somebody asks me a specific question about health, I'll say, I don't do illness and disease, but I do energy. And so then I will sort of scan their body and see what I pick up, if anything, relative to what's going on in their
Wow.
care, the container that they carry their spirit in.
Gotcha. So
So
I think it's reasonable to believe that you feel that we are spiritual beings in a human container.
absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel the same. And I had that epiphany about a year ago. And it just, I was just standing in my garage and I got it. I'm like, you know, there's so much energy out there and what we are. Our spirit lives on.
Yep.
It never, our energy, whatever you want to call it, that thing that aside from the human container is always there. And that's why I believe that we get messages from the other side, from those who have passed. And I've gotten them. I've asked for them, very specific. You're never going to convince me that that is not what's going on, because it can't, it is so specific. But those people have passed on. This
Yep.
container just stopped working. That's it.
4 years ago, one of my dearest friends of this lifetime um, got her wings, and she'd had lung cancer. And it was during COVID, so I couldn't go visit her toward the end, which, was really troubling to me. In hindsight, it's like, yeah, that wouldn't have done any good. Me sitting there crying as
Right.
she's getting ready to go. Probably better that we remembered each other with martinis in hand, laughing. But at the moment of her passing, her son sent me a text describing the scene. The view is perfect. And as I'm reading that text, I felt her kiss me on the cheek. I've never experienced that before or since, but I had 100% clarity
Yeah.
that that was my dear friend showing up to assure me that she got where she was going and everything was fine.
I
So,
got you. I got you. My
yeah.
mom passed 5 years ago. And when I asked for signs, they're very specific. I'm not
Yep.
talking a butterfly went by. I mean, very, very, you can't even say, well, it was a coincidence. It's just,
And
I won't even go into it because it's just, it, it,
plus,
it, it amazes me.
coincidences don't exist.
I agree. I agree. So there's no coincidence we're here today. So
There you go.
let's
Uh,
jump in, accessing Steve's Akashic records.
Sounds good. I will read the prayer 3 times. There will be some dead air here as I go through the two silently part, but I'll get right back. Okay, I now ask that the highest order of sacred light surround us, that the Holy Spirit be present in our hearts and minds, and that the peace of God would descend upon us and bless us in this process. As God, if you'll have his shield of love and truth around you permanently, so only God's love and truth will exist between you and me. I allow the masters, teachers, loved ones of you to channel through me out of whatever realm to say whatever they wish. I ask the permission of the lords of the Akashic records, so I'm able to look into the records of you and remove whatever information I am allowed.
And at this point, he's doing silent prayers in order to access my records. Very interested to see what we find out, and I will validate it honestly and truthfully what comes up.
It always seems like it takes 3 years to read, but it's how I learned. It's how the agreement is. So it is what it is. So, Steve, interesting stuff. First of all, my hands lit up, and I'm a Reiki master. And so it's the same sensation that I get when I'm doing Reiki healing with anybody. Uh, I've found over the many years that there are generally 3 things about you that would cause my hands to light up as I'm opening your record. The first doesn't seem likely. The first is that you do or did work in a medical or health related career. The second would be if you also do energy work, Reiki, Amadeus, healing touch, something like that. The third would be that you are in the midst of or have recently completed what they would refer to as transformational healing in your own life?
I can tell you it's the third one.
Okay. But I would also suggest to you that given the nature of what you do and the sort of guests and conversations that you have, it would not be a huge leap to say that part of what you do is healing and medical relative to the information that you put out into the world.
I
I don't
don't
think
see
that,
I get what you're saying. I don't see the medical connection. However, I don't practice energy healing. However, I recently took a strength assessment test, and number one was communication. Number two was empathy. I know, I'm somewhat empathetic, but never thought it would be number two.
yeah,
I'm the guy that tells everybody else, "Do you realize you're an empath?"
yeah,
I guess that's me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And sometimes I have to put up boundaries around that because it can overtake yourself. But I see that the third, the transformational, spot on, big, yes.
Cool, cool. So then the other thing that I got was, of course, a busy brain. Oh, good Lord. They're just, it's like a dynamo in there. Um, and it has the feel of somebody that's got about 25 windows open in their computer. And so they're going to encourage you to just X out of some of them. Some of them are there because, oh, I might need that, but probably not. And so the human system, just like a computer, the more windows that are open, it just sort of grinds,
Using more
slows down.
resources.
Yeah, yeah. So they would encourage you to just close some of those out. Know that they're still in the hard drive. You can still access them should
Sure.
the thing come up that you need to, but most of it you really don't ever need again.
Mm.
Um, you mentioned about quote unquote diagnosing people's empathic nature. Um, and they're laughing and they say, yeah, it takes one to know one, Steve. So you actually would fall very firmly within that category of people. And so again, they'll encourage you. They don't ever require, which I like. It's all about you discerning the validity of what they present for you. You're the one driving the bus. But be mindful if you're going into a group setting, especially social or otherwise, that you do a little prep. I call on Archangel Michael and I say, Mikey, can I please have a bubble of protection around me? I find that in a group setting, when I do that, when I go into it with that bubble, that I end up walking out without feeling like I've been dragged through a knothole backwards. And so if that's your experience in group settings, then I would suggest that that's a really good way for you to approach it. Okay.
Gotcha. Hmm.
Okay. You have siblings?
I do.
Okay. You and your siblings have been significantly in each other's lives in other lifetimes, in various configurations. Um, the one they are showing me is you were the father and they were your offspring. I feel like the gender roles were reversed from what they are now, but you were the father, and they make me feel very much like to some. Are you the oldest of your siblings?
Yes.
Okay, so that even makes more sense. I think they make me feel like there's an element of you currently in this lifetime being the mentor, the quote you may dad may have been there, but you also were part of the teaching, shaping, mentoring of your siblings.
I'm not going to say this just because we're here on. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I validate that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And they say, good job, because you came totally from your heart. Even in those moments where you would have maybe come with a baseball bat, if you were less charitable. But it truly was about you. Oh, I like this. Your ability when you looked at them and frankly, when you look at other people in your life, even today, to recognize within them the divinity that's in there, that aspect of God that's within each one of us, regardless of our station in life. And they make me feel like that was a great motivator that sort of drove the bus and helped you to shape the lessons that you were helping them with. But it also really, really got that grounded within you, so that it, combined with your empathic nature, you can relate to pretty much anybody, whether it's a guy sleeping in the gutter with a Ripple bottle next to him, or some high elevated CEO. They made me feel like there are days that you would prefer to interact with the wino on the street than some of the CEOs you've encountered. But even in all of those situations across the board, you recognize the goodness that is either there or is possible and has been kept under wraps for good and valid reasons.
I agree.
Okay.
And again, I don't want to, but I have to. And this is not just generalizations. I even see images of what you're saying with that,
I
the guy with a
that.
bottle of Ripple.
Is Ripple still a thing?
I don't even know, but I know
I'm
exactly
dating myself.
But I know exactly what you're talking about. And there have been times where I just wanted to get on a plane, get out of here for a month, and go to, now I'm going to tell you, a Caribbean island, and just live off the land. Just connect with people that way, because it's so real. It's not, there's not show and everything going on and everything. And there's even times where I've said I could just live in a little tiny house with, in the woods somewhere, and I think I'd be okay with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
I years and years and years ago, I took a vacation to Jamaica, and I was convinced that my calling could be a grass hut selling Red Stripe beer on the beach. That
I'm
I'd
right
have
there
been
with you.
perfectly happy with that. And
I'm right there with you. Yeah,
Red Stripe's a good drink, so
I
why
do
not?
love it. I never get tired of it. It's like a Caribbean bud, but whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
Interesting.
So what questions would you like to look at? If
I'm
any.
gonna go for the top question I'm sure you get. Relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, that's in the top three. Career, life purpose, and love life are three almost never ending.
We got about 7-ish minutes, so I'm
Okay.
just throwing it to you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Currently unattached?
I don't know how you want me to answer that. So
Are you in a committed relationship currently?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I told you I don't spin or censor, so we'll get what we get.
Fire away.
They're certainly not advocating a change of that status. Okay. That's entirely not a place where they are interested in going. But they make me feel like you both have grown a lot in the time that you've been together. But to some degree, you grew this way and your partner grew that way. And so finding that way to bridge who you are now and who they are now, because there's still an incredible magic there. But they make me feel like the busyness of life in both directions. And maybe it almost feels like the busyness of life has impacted your partner's presence in the relationship more than your own. I'm
I'm going to jump in here, and you're right.
And that's not a judgment.
No. I look at it from I'm factual. I write on the facts. Emotion comes into play always, but basically spoken, they took time off from a job, and it's brought them back to who they
Oh,
are.
good.
And what
Good.
you just said, the busy and everything, and had to take time off from job, medical reasons. So yes, you're right.
And they're saying that had there been a more grounded connection with who they actually are internally, it's possible that the medical situation would not have required stepping away from the job, because that was as much about, no, it was actually more about healing the internal as opposed to whatever injury or illness or um, required the medical part of it. And that,
Long story short, we both went through some major stuff, different stuff,
yeah,
but major. Uh,
okay.
uh, before we knew each other,
Okay,
so to speak,
okay.
so to speak.
And that was about both of you getting to a place where you were ready and able to be all in, unconditional in a relationship. Okay, you both did your individual work to get past whatever the traumas of the past had been. And the other very common thing that appears to be present is the idea of, yep, you got to be perfect. One day, if you're absolutely perfect, maybe you'll find somebody that will love you a little. But if you find yourself not feeling particularly loved, look in the mirror, because it's you sucking at being perfect. Well, that's just absolute nonsense. It was programmed into so many people for probably good and valid reasons,
Sure.
but it's not right.
Yeah.
Just sitting there breathing, doing nothing else. You are worthy and deserving of wonderful, passionate, unconditional love. And man, when you find that, grab it with both hands and hang on to it, because it really,
Yeah.
and the growing together and the expansion, they do make me feel like the spiritual aspects of life, they make me feel like you're not on the same page, but you're on similar pages. And there's a great acceptance and tolerance of where those differences lie. And in some areas, they make me feel like your partner is perhaps a bit not ahead, because that's a competition thing, but has gone a little deeper in some areas than you have, and conversely, the same for you. But they make me feel like more music, more bonfires or fires in the fireplace, good wine, good food, and taking that time. You know that you need to segregate some time and space only for you, for you to stay connected and balanced and continue to operate as well as you do. As a couple, there's also that need to sequester yourselves without a special event or
Yep.
without, you know, and so if you can bring that back a bit more, they make me feel like the magic that you both know is there will be more evident and more joyful for you.
So, and all of these things are definitely in line with we're, in my situation. In a minute, might be tough. Career. What do you see? What do you feel? What are you getting?
This is where I have to put up a wall, because I have my own belief, because of the work that we've done together. I really do believe that you are on a launch pad for a like a wow, what a trajectory. And you may or may not be aware of it. You may already be negotiating something, but they make me feel like all of your foundational work that you've done has been done with such attention to detail and integrity that all the way along, you've had the eye and the ear of people in different venues. And so it feels like there's something bigger coming for you. And keep me posted, because I'd be pretty excited about that. That would be very cool.
We're out of time. I have to tell you, Eric, this is very different in a positive way than I thought, because the way you present these things, it's more of it being as a friend telling you something, more of a coach kind of feel, as opposed to, all right, well, I'm going to access your records now. I've got this, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, and there you go. You present it in a way where it's usable, digestible. I don't know if that's making sense, but that was
Absolutely.
my perception versus what this reality is.
Cool. I mean,
Yeah.
if people can't put it to use or run it through the discernment filter, it really, I don't think has much value.
And, for those who are skeptical, and I am, even friends who are psychics, I'm still like, yeah, give me some more. I want to, even as friends, what you presented today I validate. And even the specific stuff, like the father figure to a sibling, there's deep meaning in what you said. That's not just a fluffy me saying, well, I'm older, so I'm older by 15 minutes.
Yeah, your wisdom came with you. You didn't garner it in that 15 minutes.
Yeah. So again, I don't no time to get into that detail, but that does mean a lot in terms of what you said in many different ways. Cool. That was wild. All of it was, I'm still trying to process a lot of this. How do we contact you if somebody wants you to look at their records and do somewhat similar? Again, this was kind of on the fly. We're kind of moving a little forward here fast, but how do we find you?
EricWebster.com. And that's I spell it correctly, ERIC, Webster like the dictionary.com. All the information is there. There are links everywhere to email me. Phone numbers are there. You can even go to the online scheduling and book 30-minute, 45-minute, or 1 hour Akashic Record sessions right there. Calendar will pop up. We'll do them on Zoom. I do record all of those so that you have it to go back to, because I find that sometimes something may not resonate, and a week or two later you go, oh my God,
yeah,
there it is. That's what he was talking about. And you can go back to the highlight reel.
Yep. I'm gonna share this with others. It's super cool. Thank you for today. Fantastic.
My
Amazing.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for suggesting it.
Oh, loved it, and looking forward next time we get together.
Sounds good, Steve. Thanks.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.